I had my patients that I knew I changed their life through chiropractic. I was branded. I was a chiropractor. 700 visits a week. Everybody in my county knew me, right? I was the big guy. I changed their lives. They changed their lifestyle following chiropractic. I had a patient named Randy. Randy came in. He had back pain. I helped him. Found out we treated migraines. Brought his wife in. She had migraines. We helped her. Brought his kids in. Brought his employees in. Randy was my model patient. And Randy says to me, what's those guys in the white jackets running around? Well, they're medical doctors. What are they doing here? They help people get off of medication. How do you see them? You want to see them? Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, I don't want to give Randy a prescription, so I'm going to go with Randy and protect him. So I'm, hey, doc, this is Randy. And I sit right next to Randy. And Randy goes, bless me, Dr. Fry, I'm taking Prilosec, I'm taking Lipitor, I'm taking Prozac, I'm like, you never told me that. And what he said next made me almost want to quit. Well, you're not a real doctor. He is. He didn't mean anything by it, but you know how small I felt? And I'm sitting there like, looking at Randy like, and the doctor goes, would you like to get off those drugs, Randy? He goes, yeah, that's why I'm here. That saved the day. All of a sudden I realized I'm on to something. I cannot legally take people off of drugs, but he can, right? So all of a sudden I realized now I have a vehicle to actually change healthcare. And that's what we did. My one medical doctor came to me and said, you know, there's 3 of us here, 3 medical doctors. One of them was a chiropractor. I'm looking at his resume, it says chiropractor, and he's an MD, applying for the MD job. I'm like, how did this happen? He goes, well, I was in medical school, I hurt my back. And they were just putting me on drugs, and that wasn't working, so I went to a chiropractor, and they fixed me. And I'm like, this is really cool. How'd you guys do this? And they started explaining chiropractic to me, and he said, I got so interested, I called up the chiropractic school and found out I could probably get my degree in a year. So I did. And at that point, I had been in school for like 15 years or whatever it is. And he said, I came out of school, and there was an ad for a chiropractor to work in the Splendori study. Have you guys ever heard of the Splendori study? This is a true story. Back in the 80s, there was a study in Italy in the Italian government-run medical clinics called static clinics. And they brought chiropractic in to see if they could reduce the cost of healthcare. So he said, I got to this clinic, and 3 chiropractors, me and 2 other chiropractors were there, and 3 people showed up for an adjustment. And the next day, they came back with like 50 people. And the next day, they came back with 800 people. And then we started adjusting 300 people a day a piece for a year. I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, yeah, that's true. I had Sundays off, and I spent all day Sunday laying in the ice. I'm like, you must be a really good adjuster. He goes, I'm a really good adjuster. And that guy is in the top 5 adjustments I ever got was from a medical doctor, right? But he was the guy who was writing scripts. And my other 2 medical doctors ratted him out. They said, when he writes a script, if a patient comes back and wants a refill, I got to fill it. I don't want to fill it. So can you tell him to stop? And I'm like, I'm not legally allowed to tell him to stop. But you are. So you want to be the clinical director? Raise your right hand. And I swore him in as clinical director. Come with me. And I said, John, Nick wants to tell you something. And Nick goes, John, you can no longer write scripts in this clinic. Well, what do we do if people need blood pressure? You refer them across the street. There's like 50 MDs in the medical building over there. We don't need to write it, and I'm not writing the refills. I was completely compliant. So talk to me about the zone.
The zone's about clarity.
Okay.
It's about clarity. It's about having that focus and clarity up there, being able to block out distractions, being able to make a decision for yourself, not letting outside stimulus constantly bombard you. It's in there. It's owning the real estate between your ears.
Right. That's what goes to what you said earlier about staying calm,
Yes.
being clear, being able to see what's going on in front of you and handle that.
No matter how successful you are, life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm. There's always going to be crap.
There's always going to be something. It's just the more successful you are, the less sympathy people have for you because they just see the dollar signs.
Right.
You know, just because you're extremely wealthy doesn't mean your kids won't have problems in school.
Right.
All right. You know, doesn't mean there are no relationship issues. That doesn't mean that your car's not going to start that things people just don't see those. People just don't see those things, and it's hard for them because they think that money. And if you think the money is the cure-all, it's not. Everyone is still going through things. So when the zone is about knowing what you're doing so well that you don't have to think. I make a thing about about athletes, the greatest athletes, thinking is actually a distraction for them. Because if you're thinking, you're not in the moment.
Right, I can appreciate that.
Right, but in order to get to the state of not thinking, it requires years and years and years of thinking.
Right, and practice and drilling.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're big on as well.
Yeah, so you don't hit that game-winning shot when you hit that game-winning. You hit that game-winning shot 3 years ago with the practices over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, and then very few people understand the zone. The zone, you have to put in the work, physically and mentally, to be able to put yourself in a zone state, to be able to put yourself in a don't think state, to be able to put yourself when there's everything around you is chaotic. You think about the person who has to, the pitcher who's closing out a game. All right, you have all these fans that are yelling and screaming, and they're all nervous, and you got, the batters over there. What is a pitcher thinking on that time? I always said, what is a pitcher thinking? He's not thinking.
That's right. He's doing.
Yes, he's not thinking. Because all the announcers always say that. I wonder what he's thinking about. Well, if he's thinking about something right now, he's about to mess up.
That's right.
Yeah.
We notice that a lot in business. Guys will actually overthink things and not act, and that's like the kiss of death.
I have to say, overthinking is the art of creating problems that don't exist.
That's right. So the reason that we have to have somebody like yourself that knows how to reach out and touch the hearts of people, which you do,
Yes.
is because we're going to change healthcare. We're going to disrupt the status quo of the healthcare system in this country. And we're going to shift it from being a symptom-driven system, where that justifies the idea of giving somebody a drug like an opioid for pain that will most likely turn them into a heroin addict or kill them, because it is now, do you realize, the leading cause of death of Americans under the age of 50 is opioids.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, and the number one prescription that gets that person on that drug is back pain. So we need to change healthcare, and that's why we're reaching and asking you for help, because you can help us get to the hearts of America to have people realize, you know what, they're right. We shouldn't be doing it this way. We should be doing it a different way.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to try to do. Can you shed any light on how you can help us do that?
Well, first I want to say how close this is to my own heart. I had my father passed away from throat cancer, and he was not a smoker, which is not,
wow.
not you would have thought, oh, well, that's a smoking thing. No, it wasn't for him. And we watched his decline. It was so hard for our family. And we realized that he actually did a lot of research into how he could have been eating better, how he could have been treating his body differently for decades. And he died with a lot of regret, realizing that the information that he had to dig out of the nooks and crannies of the internet when, and he passed away back in 2004. So,
relatively new.
Yeah, I mean, Google was not nearly what it is now, but he had just begun to get exposure to that information and began to understand, oh my gosh, if I'd had this information 20 years ago, he thought he was eating healthy. He thought he was doing good for his body. There were so many things he was missing that he had no idea. And he died with regret, realizing that if he had had exposure to that information earlier on, it could have saved his life. And then my own wife, who has had thyroid disease for 20 years. We're coming up on our 20-year wedding anniversary. And in the midst of that, we're looking back and realizing she was diagnosed a month after we were married.
Wow.
So it's been the entire length of our marriage that we've been battling this. And we discovered along the way that, my 16-year-old daughter was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. My wife's uncle passed away of thyroid cancer. Well, thyroid cancer is not hereditary, but autoimmune disease is.
Right.
And so many people with autoimmune disease that deal with daily inflammation that's completely unaddressed and triggers so many different things that can happen to their body. Those people, a high percentage of those people come down with thyroid disease.
Right.
So that was what led to my wife's diagnosis of Hashimoto's. And we're now moving in the direction of realizing, hey, look, what we put in our bodies matters. The way we treat ourselves matters. The fact that we should not just be addressing symptoms, but looking at causes matters. And it's such a strong passion for my family wanting to make sure that we're doing the absolute best to ensure optimum health and longevity for ourselves.
Right. This is not a new debate. This is age-old debate. When Louis Pasteur was doing his work and was saying, well, we can prevent disease by killing the germs. At the same time, there was another very learned person named Antoine Béchamp who was saying, it's not the germs, it's the body, it's the terrain. It's the health of the patient that allows those germs to show up. And when you're speaking about thyroid, you're talking, you know, the language to a lot of our doctors who practice functional medicine, using nutrition to try to get organs to function, particularly the thyroid.
Yeah.
Because there's a relationship with the thyroid and stress and the adrenal glands and the
Yes.
pancreas. And those three things together can lead to a lot of different diseases. And addressing the health of the body is exactly what we're all about, trying to get that patient to fix themselves. We do that in functional medicine, but we also do it in physical medicine, whereas we're not trying to cover up a pain, but try to find out what caused it
Right.
and address that so that we're not relying on these really strong drugs that can have horrific side effects. So we're really glad. I didn't realize that you had those passionate stories behind you, and
Oh, yeah.
now I can understand why we resonate so well together.
Yes.
But
Very
we're glad
close
you're on
to
our
ours.
team. We're so
Thank you.
glad you're on our team.
All right, welcome to the After the Show show. Don is from Frogmann Charities. And Don, I understand a couple of days ago, this setup that you have put together here at 48th and 6th Avenue was actually being used in Virginia, and it was disassembled during a thunderstorm. Is that right?
That's right. 2 days ago, we had this off. Our builder, Chris Call, built it all single-handedly at his home. And when we
Is that
got there,
right?
he did it all by himself. And then we got there and took it down in a thunderstorm, pouring rainstorm, and got here and set it up with 5 of us.
So did you build this specifically for us today?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Well,
awesome.
job well
Thank
done,
you.
because it's scary.
You know what? You added a few things from previous trips.
It's a little tougher because
Yeah,
we
this
wanted
one-
to go up a little bit from what we did last year.
I
here.
thought it was tough before when I did it, but then you've added this wooden piece.
Yeah, the double ladder.
That's even higher and very
Yay,
scary.
But that's not as hard.
You did this last year,
She
and
did.
that wasn't here?
That was not here. The wall
Yeah.
behind it was the scariest part.
We all did it last year.
What do you think?
The A-frame is a little on the scary side, but the whole idea is to give the layman kind of a taste of what Navy SEAL guys go through, but not really, because the training is so rigorous.
That's right. Obstacles are just a small part of the training you get in SEAL training, but it's a fun part. You get your whole body worked, you know, and get a cardio, and it's fun.
And who are these people who are actually doing it?
So these are friends of ours in the obstacle course racing and the CrossFit communities, and they came out here to support us at Fox and Friends.
Very nice. So why did you start this charity?
Well, there's 2 personal reasons. For one, racing and fitness has been my whole life. The other part of my life has been the SEAL community, and the SEALs have been so good to me. What I want to do is give back to the charities. We have 3 Navy SEAL charities we're giving to, and that's the UDT SEAL Association. We're giving to the Navy SEAL Museum.
Whoa!
And the Foundation for Navy SEAL Veterans. And those 3 charities help the families of the fallen SEALs and the wounded SEALs and the SEALs with PTSD. And it's a way for us to give back. And also, on the fitness side, it ways to get people off the couch and go out and do a 5K. Some with obstacles and some without obstacles.
And so you also have a virtual component to it, too, so people can't join in?
That's right.
How do they do that?
Well, the virtual component's the biggest part of this here. The virtual component is because a lot of people can't go to some starting line at some race site and do an obstacle course race or a 5K. Our virtual runs, you sign up, you commit to yourself that you're going to do a 5K. You do it, we send you the medal, we send you the challenge coin, you get a downloadable certificate. We do virtual run walks, we do virtual swims. This virtual run happens to have obstacles in it.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's neat for
I'm
kids
very
who
impressed.
can't take part. You can do this, Ainsley.
No, I really can't. I
The
really
virtual
can't.
one?
Not like you can. The virtual one, yeah, maybe. But I can't do it like you. I mean, you breezed through. You had no problems. Do you do this often?
Well,
Yeah.
my whole life I've
Yeah.
been doing it, so I'm old.
You're just in shape.
Just today, it's
Great shape.
televised.
How many years did you serve in the military?
22.
22. Thank you for your service
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Thank
all
you.
you've done.
Thank
for our
you
men
to
and
Fox
women.
for all you do for the service,
And
for the
thank
military.
you as well, Don, for as Brian went through it, you could have beaten him by about 5 minutes, but you took your time.
Teamwork.
And he looked great.
He was such a gentleman, wasn't he?
He was.
Waiting on Brian.
He was helping, he was lifting him up.
Yeah.
Once again, if people would like to help Frogmann Charities, the website,
Frogmancharities.org.
it's a little too easy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for
Oh,
coming in.
it's
Sure
so nice to
appreciate
meet you in
it.
person.
Thank you. Very impressive.
So great to see you
Good to
again.
see you
We
again,
had your
too.
photo in our office for a whole year.
Thank you.
See you back here tomorrow, everybody.
Bye.
These guys are in great shape.
The Truth Initiative and the Ad Council campaign spent over $40 million, and a lot of it was given away as gratis, as some of the commercials that ran. 1.4 billion views. Has any one of you seen the Truth campaign, the Ad Council for the opioid crisis? Raise your hand if you've seen it. That's insane. The amount of money they put behind that. And there was like 7 hands got raised in here. It's not breakthrough content, these things. It's not virally shared. You can't get there's no motivation if you've seen it to share it with somebody, and it makes people look insane. One of them is a girl behind the wheel in a car saying that she has to get her pills, and she pushes the gas pedal and drives into a wall of a building so she can go to the hospital and be prescribed the medication. Whoop. Isn't the idea to destigmatize the people who suffer? 1 in 10 people look for help. 1 in 10 of the addicted will look for help because the stigma is so bad that they can't or not want to, or even in the hospital system when they go in and they've overdosed, they're totally, oh, here he is again. Somebody comes in with a heart condition or has another physical problem, they're followed up, they're given medication, they're sent out, they refer them to a doctor. If you go in for an overdose, behind the curtain, they're talking to each other like, oh yeah, it's him again. The stigma is so terrible. It is so terrible. So how would you, if 1.4 billion impressions must have been people at the Ad Council going like this. Because everywhere I speak, and I'm in front of 20,000 people, 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 1,000 people. Every time I ask, no one saw the damn thing. How are we getting the word out to curb the problem before it starts? 34% decrease in total amount of opioids prescribed. This actually pissed me off. Now I have to represent the current administration because I'm a surrogate to this issue. But when you start talking points for campaigning already, right now, the president gave his speech a few days ago, and this is not about politics, and I'm independent in many ways, and I really like some of the things that are going, and then some things I don't. But this it sang out because the meeting prior was 34% decrease in total amount of opioids prescribed. In the conversation, it was 34% decrease in opioids prescribed, not opioid prescriptions. So the regulations went from 30 pills that you were allowed to sign for, they're curbing it to 7 or 8 per prescription. So the same amount of prescriptions are being put out there, just less pills. You know how long it takes to become addicted to an opioid if you're taking them and you're the right person that's in that position to become addicted? 3 days.